Good evening and welcome to this Monday, November 16th edition of the Bermuda Referees Corner here on IslandStats.com. I'm your host, Earl Basin, and joining me today are currently three officials in Antoine Augustus, Mateo Donowa, and Stephen Mabry. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you this evening?
All's well.
All good.
All's well.
Okay. All right. Well, Antoine, as a seasoned veteran in officiating, the start of this season, take us through how challenging it has been for you after that pandemic.
It was pretty difficult. It was pretty good. Actually, I started a little later than normal, being that I was coming back from a little accident, so I started a little late. But as far as fitness, it was good. It was all right.
Yeah. Stephen, you had challenges as well, having an operation on your knee, but working your way back to fitness. How much of a challenge was it for you to get back to where you wanted to be, to get back involved?
Well, COVID actually benefited me because there were some international tournaments that I wouldn't have been able to take part in had they took place due to my injury. So I actually did miss out on a whole ton because of COVID. And the time off caused me to miss less. My fitness still isn't back where it was before I got injured, but it's definitely at a performance level where I can perform locally. I feel like I don't do the people disservice of my current fitness, but it's still a ways to go. But it's been refreshing to be able to have those last games that there was less. I missed out on less. I was able to focus more on training instead of the stress of, man, I'm missing out. There was nothing to miss out on, thankfully. So the stars kind of aligned. Obviously, nobody wants a pandemic, and it's very unfortunate. But as far as my recovery, the stars kind of aligned in favor.
Yeah. Mateo, one of the younger ones, when you look at how this season has gone thus far, you guys kind of stayed in training. You were one that was committed to training even when we first came out of that lockdown. But getting back into the season, how has that transition been for you?
It's been a bit up and down for me. At the very beginning, it was tough. Like I was doing a lot of things wrong. Technically, fitness-wise, I was okay, but technically, I was a little shaky, and I'm starting to get back into the swing of things with that now. So it's been an all right start to the season for me.
Yeah. Stephen, what are some of the challenges you faced? I know you talked about you feel as if you're not doing a disservice to the game in the condition you're in, but what are some of the challenges that you are facing on a day-to-day basis in preparation for games?
Well, in preparation, so my knee currently, if I do too much too soon, it swells up, which is natural. I didn't know that at the time. So I was training 100%. I was, reins off, going all in, and I was feeling great. I mean, I had a big game. I had Dandytown and Village, that 4-4 thriller. I was on the line for that, and I was hitting my marks, and everything was going great. And then 5 minutes after in the game, the knee flares up. And I'm at panic stations now. I'm thinking, oh, man, don't tell me I'm back to square one. I go back to physio 2 days later, and they explain to me, no, you could have took 3 years off. This would have happened. You have to get through this. And that swelling goes down, and you can go right back to full performance. So for me, actually, it's a battle between, so as far as preparation for games, it's a battle between doing enough work to increase my fitness while also not doing too much that I'm not able to perform on a Sunday. So I have a game on a Sunday, so I know, okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I can go as hard as I want because even if it flares up, I have plenty of time for it to subside in time for Sunday. Now, the Thursday training sessions, I have to be a bit cautious because should it flare up, I've only got, a 48-hour window to get it to come back on. So that's a real challenge I'm having right now, is trying to put in enough work to increase my fitness while also not causing any flare-ups that I can't perform on the Sunday. Thankfully, on game days, I've actually managed to get through, knock on wood, so far, every game day without having to, because you have to get the coach right. You have to be there. It's not the player's fault that you're dealing with an injury. So on game day, you have to give 100. So maybe that means on a training day, you compensate a little bit. So that's the challenge I'm having right now.
And your summer and Melody helped you out a lot too.
Yeah, definitely. Worked on the core fitness. Sailing, hiking out was definitely. I got my core in early on the boat. Yes, definitely.
Yes. Antoine, you were injured in an accident as well. So how much of a challenge is it for you in preparation for games? Because obviously injury holds you back from actually officiating. So what is your challenge in preparation for games following your injury?
Oh well, yeah. Basically, it was I injured my hand, so now as a referee, you need your hands. You need as an AR, you need your hands to put up the flag, wave it. But it now it's getting a little better. It was a little sore. Like I said, I actually took like a month off before I came back, but before I started. So it was hard. Still got a little soreness. But working through it, it got to a point. I did one game, actually, Devonshire Coats and Cougars, actually, 2 weeks ago, and really got a chance to test it out. When I say really test it out, I took off my brace and just try to test it out. When you got a call, as an AR, you make a call, foul happens in your area, your region, your area, and you got to wave, and it's had to test it out, and shaking it around, it really hurt. I had to take 2 steps back and just ice my hand and make sure that everything was good. I didn't go to a physio or anything like that, but but yeah, my preparations as far as getting back to it, like I worked this weekend. It was pretty good this weekend. I didn't have any problems. Maybe with my decision calling and everything, but it's feeling pretty good now.
Mateo, you mentioned earlier you were making minor mistakes, and well, your fitness is always on point, but how have you been working on improving the minor mistakes in games so that actually you get back up to where you were prior to the pandemic as fast as possible?
For me, it's a bit more of a concentration thing. It's more of a mental thing for me. So I'm just working on getting my focus back where it was. And I'm getting there. I'm closer now than I was at the start of the season. So just a bit of rust to shake off, but I'll get there.
When you look at what were the areas you were struggling with, because maybe just a conversation in some regard can kind of assist.
Namely, some of the decisions I've made early in the season haven't been correct because of a bit of a lack of concentration. So that's kind of what my focus is on at the moment.
Now, with you being out, Stefan, and the new laws that have been come out over the summer period, how challenging has it been for you to catch up to speed on that and work on your fitness at the same time?
So being I couldn't train, I was saying to myself, well, it'll be a shame if I don't train, and I'm also not reading my book, staying on top of the law and everything. So as far as understanding the law and learning the law, I was doing that constantly, constantly reading, keeping mentally sharp. The only disadvantage would be is that I did miss 3 quarters of last season. So while it's one thing to read it and understand it, I've missed 3/4 of a season to put it into practice. I haven't gotten to act on most of those laws. Now, fortunately for me, when I did the under 15s tournament at IMG last year, to the end of season before, um, because that was such a late tournament after most football everywhere else is finished. It's an off-season tournament. So you got to think about those new laws and do that. So that actually little bit of football helped. But for the most part, yes, I was at a great disadvantage not being able to take part in games and put those new laws into practice. So some of these laws that other officials have been doing for a whole season, I've only been able to practice since I've returned, which is only what 5-6 games in now. So I've only got 5-6 games of putting these new laws into practice under my belt. Thankfully for me, I'm not learning them and practicing them. They already learned. Now I just have to put them into practice.
Yeah. Antoine, when you're preparing for a game, hypothetically, you are down to be an AR on a game day, and how do you get ready? Because you never know, you could be called to be in the middle, and that kind of changes your psyche for a game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Like you said, if the schedule comes on a Friday afternoon, and you see your name, middle or assistant AR, it it changes your mindset. As far as like if I see myself in AR, okay, I'm start preparing myself for making calls as an AR, offsides, the correct offside rule, all that. But then if I see myself as a referee, everything, just the whole book just comes up. So it's preparation, and then like you said, sometimes it comes a time. Yes, we do get a call that we have to switch up on the Saturday. Get a call that you gotta go referee instead of the AR. It's very difficult. Again, you gotta go back, change your mindset, reset your whole thinking of the game. Um, that's like an AR. Some of us do, some of us don't. You have to think about the what the teams are, who's the teams playing. North Village, fast-paced team, likes to work. Devonshire Coast, very fast-paced team, youngsters. So you have to preparation. You put yourself in that in that stage, and understand that AR, like I said, AR and referee is totally different platforms, totally different jobs. Yes, like we are ARs. You should be ready to. If you're AR, you should be ready to go in the middle, even if one your referee goes down. Yes, you should be ready if you're the number one AR. But it's still the mindset, the preparation. It changes. It's totally a different ball game from AR than in the middle. And I guess Mr. Mateo and Stafford will know that it's a mindset. It's just 1 minute you're in the middle on a Saturday or Sunday, and then you want a AR 3 o'clock, on a Sunday. So it's the mindset to just switch up and get ready for that appointment.
Mateo, are you kind of used to the players now? You know who's going to give you problems if you're an AR. Who's going to be, kind of on your side if you make a call, whether they think it's right or wrong. Are you kind of getting used to the players and their antics?
Yeah. I think I'm getting to a point now where, since this is my 5th season, I think. Yeah, I'm getting to a point now where every team's got them couple of players, that'll give you a bit of stick, and a couple of players that try to keep you in it. So now I'm starting to really get used to who's who on each team and all that. So yeah.
Stefan, are you still having fun doing the business of officiating?
Oh, absolutely. It's so cliche. I can't remember what the saying is, but it's something like distance makes the heart grow fonder or something of the sort. To the point where I missed it so badly that I couldn't even watch games. I couldn't watch officials I couldn't watch other people officiate. Not from an arrogant sense, like, oh, I could do the job better. No, from a point where I want to be out there with them. Like, it's like being hungry and watching people eat. I couldn't. I think I only saw 2 games the entire time I was out locally because I couldn't watch people do what I wanted to do. So definitely still having fun with it. Definitely love it. My first game back, my very first game back was a first division game. And I kid you not, when the game was finished, my cheeks hurt from smiling all game. I was so happy to be out there. I was happy that the knee held up. I was having a ball. It was nothing any player could say to me that would upset my night. I was just happy to be out there doing what I do. It was a blast. And I'm the type of person, I don't really take it personal whenever I get sick from players. We decided to develop a little bit of a reputation of somebody who will, after the game, pull a player aside and explain why a certain player didn't or didn't get. Sometimes it's a fair precedent to set because not every referee has every time for that. You don't really want to set that as a precedent sometimes. But me, I enjoy it. I enjoy the dialogue after. So yeah, definitely the love was not lost for it. Definitely still having a ball out there.
And Antoine, you've been doing this for quite some time now. Do you think some of the behavior on the field has gradually gotten worse?
No, no. It hasn't gotten worse. It's still the same. It's just the different ways of how it's come. But it hasn't gotten worse. I would never say it's got worse. Um, it's just different ways, just how a player would, go through it or do it. But it's not worse. It's totally not worse. It's getting a little better, actually. I would say the game's getting a little better because it's now referees and players have the understanding, as well as coaches. They all have the understanding of the laws. So now it's getting better, a little better, because like I said, it's they know the laws, so they're holding us accountable for the laws as referees. Because back then it was just referees just knew the rules of the game. The players will argue it, coaches will argue it, but they didn't know it. Now today, you have coaches basically call us up on the law that we missed out or call that we did. So it's I would say it's pretty better. It's pretty better. Again, it holds us referees very accountable to look at our laws and understanding laws of the game. I know Mr. Stafford, he knows the book like the back of his hand. So yeah, it's better.
Yeah. When you are going out, whether it be to run the line or be in the middle, Mateo, how do you mentally get yourself ready for the task at hand?
Like Antoine said, there's a big, well, not a big difference. There is a difference in mindset that you have to have between going in as a referee and as an AR. So depending on which is, well, for me personally, at the end of the day, it's another game. So first and foremost, I just want to get myself to a point mentally where I know I can do a decent job on the Sunday, whether or not I'm in the middle or on the line. So that's first and foremost. And then after that, it's kind of knowing who's playing. If I'm on the line, okay, these guys play a lot of long balls or they play quick, so I'm gonna be up and down the line most of the game. Or in the middle, it's kind of like, okay, how do I move around the field in a way that doesn't get in players' way? Because some teams like to play quick passes on the ground and all of that. So all of that comes into play. But at the end of the day, for me, it's kind of like I try to tell myself it's just another game, so I don't psych myself out before the game actually starts.
Okay. Well, good evening, Zena, and welcome.
Hi.
Big smiles, big smiles. How has your season been going thus far? Any challenges? Anything you think you could be doing differently to make it that much better?
I think there's always room to sharpen up your skills and improve. So, I'm always going to answer a question like that with saying working on ensuring that I know the laws of the game and apply them correctly. Um, Ensuring that I always improve on those things is extremely important. Keeping the fitness level up, staying injury free. Those are the things that will help to ensure that we execute on the field correctly.
Are you still having fun with this officiating?
Uh, um, I will say
Be
yes.
honest. You
I
can be
have a
honest.
little bit more freedom this season. So I do think that I am enjoying myself. I was on a game yesterday with Francis, and we were mic'd up, so that was different for me. Um, so usually when I'm talking to myself on the line, uh, if I'm on the line, other people could hear me. So that added a level of comedy to the game. But it also kept us a bit more focused.
Right. Yeah. The communication, I know I've seen Francis and I saw you yesterday and Stacy was over the other side. So you guys mic'd up. So when you're communicating via the mic, is that a lot easier than because sometimes in order to get the referee's attention, you got to squeeze the button on the flag, don't you?
Right. So for me, the part that I think was more or most effective, sorry, is if I'm running on the line and I'm in the panel and I'm focusing on the penalty area, I could be mumbling things that I'm seeing to Francis. And let's say he thought there was a possibility of a foul in the area. I'm in a position where I can be like yes or no, and that can help us to make calls more confidently on the field and collaborate together without people actually seeing whether or not there's doubt or a huge thought process behind the call that you're about to make or not make.
Right. Antoine, you've actually used that system in finals and so forth. Do you feel more comfortable with the system and that communication?
Yes, most definitely. It's easy. It makes your game very easy with the mics. I think I've done it with Martin. I've done it with Francis. I did it with Lyndon as well. So it's very easy. The only hard part about it, I don't know if Jana had it correctly, but the trying to run and the things in your
Earpiece.
ears it's hard. But again,
Trust me, I
it's
saw her holding it a few times running down the line.
Well, my
see.
ears are a little bit smaller than a man, so but Anthony put a little bit
Yeah,
of tape.
Right.
But the main concern for me wasn't the tape; it was making sure that I still look good on the line. So I didn't want this big tape across my face.
well, yeah, it's a good learning to actually. I think Francis is trying to implement it with all his games, and it's a very good thing. Like I said, I'm used to it in the finals, a couple of finals, and it makes it job very easy. Like you
Yeah.
said, you call it out. I think it's a foul. I think it's a foul. I think it's a foul. Holding. As
Yes.
you were here in I don't know if you've heard um behind the scenes with EPL referees, they have tapings of it, and you can hear it as just like that. Like Francis is a hill. Watch that hill, and number two, and stuff like that. So I've used it, and it's a very good tool. And I think every referee should
Yeah.
be content. I think we should need to use it, not just in the finals or semifinals, but I think we need to start using it at least, um, every Premiership game at least.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, Stefan, because you've officiated overseas, you've used some of that equipment as well. Are you comfortable with it?
I'm very comfortable with it. I've used it a few times overseas, and here with Francis, and I've done a couple finals with him. I do love it. I think it's a very useful tool. I do enjoy it. I enjoy the dynamic you have when you have them. However, at the risk of sounding like an old head, much like how old people like kind of rolled their eyes when digital clocks came out, they're like, "Oh man, people aren't going to know how to read the regular clock with the hands." And lo and behold, most people can't nowadays. I love the silent signals, and as an AR, I love all the communication I can give to my referee without being verbal and without actually using my flag. I enjoy the two steps out if it's outside the penalty area. I enjoy the running up the line if I'm okay with the goal. I enjoy holding my position if I'm not okay with the goal. I love everything I can communicate with just my body language and eye contact and everything that the mic takes away from you. I don't want officials to get lazy, and because you're not always going to have it. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe you will, because once upon a time, all the old people said you're not always going to have a digital clock. But lo and behold, we do always have a digital clock. But I enjoy reading the hands of officiating. So what I do, I like the mic. I find it a useful tool. It took me a couple games to learn how to best use it. But now that I know how best to use it, it's a very useful tool. I enjoy it. But I do still appreciate all the silent signals of not having the mic.
Yeah. Mateo, I saw you grin when Zena said when she usually talks to herself on the line, and now she's got to be very cautious. Do you do the same thing?
Um, I do it more in my head. I don't really verbally because I know I haven't used the mics yet, so I haven't had the experience to where I'm just like mumbling things verbally. But in my head, yeah, definitely, I sort of tell myself like, oh, offside position, watch that, or bit of holding there, watch that, and then I'll look at whoever the referee is to make sure they're seeing it. If they don't, then obviously I signal for it. But yeah, I do talk to myself of sorts. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Zena, spill the beans. What do you tell yourself? Listen, you don't have to answer right now. I can send this link to Francis and he can explain.
So, so I love to be honest. So, in certain situations, I definitely giggle to myself, have a laugh, and I'm like, oh man, that was dumb. I love football, and I like good football. So when I see something that's terrible on the field, I definitely talking to myself like, whoa, that was not good.
Well, it was a wall moment in the first minute of that game yesterday, wasn't it?
Whoa, yes. Oh my God. That was so quick. But it was a first half hat trick.
Yeah.
I think Rangers team really had a few people that shut off, and it changed the whole dynamic. And there were a couple chances that Rangers had, and a few players that got forward. And I just feel like if those key players didn't turn off, there would have been more support when they did try and attack. And they had about three decent chances on goal that should have definitely been goals. They were sitters and they were missed. So
yeah. When you guys are together in your training on Tuesdays and Thursdays, what are some of the general conversations? I know sometimes you guys are doing a lot of fitness, but obviously you get to chat about your game over the weekend or what you've seen on television. What is the general consensus of how to improve the game in your positions? Anyone could answer that.
A lot of it's kind of just like if you were unsure about anything that happened on the weekend, you kind of just ask the question like, "Hey, I saw this on Sunday. I did this. Should I have done something differently?" And then we all talk about it, and it's all a big talking point. It's all a big learning point most of the time. So yeah, it's just different little questions each person has about the games from the weekend prior.
Yeah, and not just only our games, but as far as if we see something happen in EPL, because everybody watches EPL, we ask and we just sometimes Francis or the instructors would say like, okay, put yourself in that referee's shoes and just how would you Lyndon would mostly say this, how would you batter that decision, or what was your decision on that? So yeah, it's stuff like that we normally talk about.
How about this new handball rule that has been implemented, and it's a struggle because Dana would see it one way, Antoine you'll see it another, Stefan you'll see it another, because you're all different and you'll never all be in the same position. but the way the rule is written, it makes it a bit more challenging, isn't it?
I think it makes it. I think it makes it harder to sell the call to players and fans. I think
Mhm.
it's opened the book for people to come at you. Me personally, I like it. Um, I like the logic behind it. I like that what what could potentially be a handball for an attacker is a little different from a defender. And people would say, well, handball should be handball. Well, no, some you do have accidental things that can happen. The ball can come in contact with the hand. So I like the logic of, hey, look, whether it's at one end or the other, we don't want a girl come from a mishap. We don't want a girl to come from, it just touched the hand. There was no deliberate action, none of the sort. So one, we don't want to give away a penalty for it. So defender, I saved you. But now don't complain when your striker goes on the other end. It touches his hand and he puts it in, and I'm telling you it's a handball. Just like I didn't award the penalty to the other team for you making a mistake and touching it. I'm not allowing you to score after making a mistake and touching it. So while it's hard to explain that to players and stuff, I like the logic behind it. But as a referee, it causes you to have to constantly be focused because now you're not only thinking about the action and what you're seeing, you're thinking about, well, is this player attacking? Is this player defending? It's no longer just merely the silhouette of the player and the action of the player. Now it's what position the player's in, what direction are they going, what's happening immediately after. It's so much more to consider than just the physical of it. So that really causes you to have to be super focused because as referees, sometimes you have a tendency to see something and call it. Now you really have to take that breath. You really have to take that second to think. But when applied correctly, I do like it. It makes it hard to sell. So if you're not fully up to date, if you don't fully grasp the law, the referee can look like a right fool. But you have to trust that you've applied it correctly and live with it. I can't explain it as much as I would love to try. And I'm open to talk. I can't explain the law to everybody in the middle of a game. But you as the referee have to stay focused and trust that you've applied it correctly.
Yeah.
But I
Vinny,
For
you got a
think
me,
comment?
one of the bigger
go ahead.
problems is that some referees won't actually apply how the law has been written because, like Stephen said, it can make you look like, you don't know what you're doing,
Not bad.
for
Yeah.
lack of a better
Yeah.
explanation. So if someone sees what they think is a handball and a deliberate one, they expect the referee to call it. And I've seen already this season some referees call it when actually if it's an accidental handball and there's no immediate action that takes place after that. So there's no immediate pass that results in, something that could possibly be a good attack or anything like that. It's no handball. The game goes. And I've seen referees not apply that principle to it.
Correctly.
So it's
I think an
tricky.
issue I think an issue a lot of officials have is something I've never had an issue with actually is applying the law as it is. There are several laws I don't agree with, but that's the law. So I go there and I apply it as is. I have not and may never reach a level that I influence how laws are written. All my job is to apply it as is. This particular law I happen to agree with, so I don't have an issue applying as is. But I think a lot of officials get caught up in, well, I don't think this should be a handball, so I'm not really going to call it. Or I think this should be a handball, so I call it. I think as referees, we have to remember our job is just to apply it. We have nothing to do with how it's written. Apply it. If you don't agree with it, well, that's what that law book is your safety net. I love that little law book because that's my safety net. Like, hey man, that was stupid. Hey, mate, look, this is, and then you have practical refereeing comes into it. Sometimes you have to stray away. Like I had an incident this weekend, and my assessors may or may not agree with me. I may be raped through the curls for this, but I had a situation where a player left the field without permission to relieve himself, came back onto the field without permission. By the letter of the law, it's a yellow card for leaving the field without permission, yellow card for coming back onto the field without permission. I said, man, I can't do nothing. I've seen this. In the interest of practicality, though, do I really want to send a man off for that? So I called the referee to me. I said, look, this player's left the field without permission. He's come back onto the field without permission. I know, and you know, technically this man should be gone. I said, we'll probably bend on a rule here, but in the interest of practicality, let's give him one yellow. We could find a way to say, hey, he fell off the pitch, he stumbled off the pitch, something. Let's not send this man off. But we can't really nearly do nothing, you know. So it comes into applying the law book as your safety net, but being practical at the same time. And sometimes it is a challenge to find that balance.
Yeah. And I guess you just revealing that others will look at it a little differently, but you were in the place to do that. And let me ask you this question, Antoine. If you were in his position, what would have been your applying of the law decision?
It's totally different. Would have been a little different. And the reason why, from what he's saying, actually, I would have to say what really happened. Like if he just he said he walked up to use the bathroom. That's
in the middle of play.
By the law, to use in the restroom, that's a rare card offense. Basically, just not even just you can be on the bench and just go over in the corner and use the bathroom. That's a rare card offense. You don't have to be just walking off the field. You understand? So I got what Stefan's saying. You have to. Okay, I've been refereeing for a long time. Law 18, the common sense law. Like you gotta really understand. Like written law, you gotta understand what Stefan said is absolutely correct. You man management, you have to understand. Like okay, yeah, what you've done, like you said, you walk off the pitch. That's a yellow card offense. Then you go use the bathroom. That's a rare card offense. So. You have to weigh your battles. You have to say, you know what? All right, cool. Yeah, take a caution, take a yellow card, and don't do it again. But it's difficult. It's a very difficult thing to do as a referee to think about it. And I understand we referees, yes, we bend the rules. Like Stefan said, it's your safety net. Sometimes you got to bend it. But you can't break it. So in that situation, out of like Stefan said, I would have gave the caution, told him like next time Stefan could be a little harder, or Xander could be harder than say, you know what, how Xander referees, red card, no doubt about it. no questions like
Don't wag your finger. We all know it's true.
He understand what's going on. He will understand. Exactly. All right. Like for an example, all right, Garcia. Like I understand what you're saying. Yes, I wouldn't do that next time. But he would, like you said, he would know that that's a rare card offense. Even if you just sit on the bench and go use the bathroom side of the field, that's a rare card offense. I don't know if Earl, you remember it happened in Bermuda, international game. One of our players, I think, was it Dale or somebody like that?
Yeah.
Went over in the trees and used the bathroom right there on the pitch.
Yeah.
The referee saw that. Football officials saw that. Called the referee over, and he was red carded. So if it happens in international, how come it can't happen in amateur?
And that's the trick. You have to realize the level you're officiating at. So if you're an international player, you're representing your country, you're playing in an international tournament, something like that it is expected that you know this, more or less, something like that. Now this is the amateur level here in Bermuda, were at the the lowest team in the lowest league, here in Bermuda, and this happens. You know full well this player doesn't know that, and it's not my fault you don't know the law. It's not my job to tell you out. However, as I was talking to my referee, I pulled this player's captain over to me, and I told him, "Hey, look, this is what took place. We're only going to give him a yellow." And he immediately shouted out to the player, "Hey, please just take the yellow. Don't say anything. They're actually giving you a pass. I know you feel hard done by the fact that you're getting this yellow, but hey, from the conversation I'm just hearing, you could be going. Take this yellow and be happy." And that player actually came to me after the game, and he was like, "Look, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Thank you for giving me said pass." And you build a rapport with the players because that doesn't change the outcome of the game. I can't bend the law in favor because you do or don't know something, but something like that, all parties were happy. Nobody from the other team wanted them sent off. Is that really how you want to win a game? So all parties were happy with the outcome. The player was happy, and you build a rapport with these players. Now, it's not my job to be their friend, but I also don't have to actively, be vindictive towards them. So it was an opportunity to build rapport, and I'm happy with the outcome. Now, I will speak to my assessors, and they may tell me, "Hey, look, you completely blew that one." And I could live with that. But without any more information than I currently have, if I had to do it again, I would do just that, given all those circumstances. But like you were talking about conversations we have at training and things like that, I look forward to talking to my assessors and hearing what they think could have been done differently. In a perfect world, I always like to hear, "Neighbor, you got that spot on." That's what they're fighting for, to hear that. But I'm really interested in to see how they would have dealt with it.
Zen, I saw you pulling out the red card when the conversation started.
So I just want the record to show that I've only ever given one red, and that was actually in a youth game, and it was for dogs.
You're standing off children.
See, you see what I'm talking about?
It was way too.
But the indication I got was you love to pull out a card. Antoine said they Zen arrests.
No, the only thing I'm pulling out cards for is for warranted things. I haven't been overtly disrespected when I've been in the middle, which I'm grateful for because people disrespect referees all the time. So it hasn't been any grave disrespect or any really. A couple guys have showed it, but not they haven't directed the words to me. They may have shouted at me, but not to me. So a little bit different for me. So I'm grateful. But no, I think I don't want Stephen to use bandy rule because I think that what he did was appropriate. I think that he used game management and spirit of the game to evaluate whether or not a red card in the situation was warranted. So I think just my humble opinion as a budding instructor that he handled the situation well. Some other people may say something different, but for the particular game that he's dealing with, then no. And he's right. It's not his responsibility to care about whether or not somebody knows the laws, because if that was the case, we wouldn't be able to referee any games because it's clear that most of the players and coaches and fans in Bermuda do not know the laws of the game, including former referees.
Well, Mateo, sounds like there's a job for you to go around educating teams about the law, so you don't have players walking off the field and whooping the guy on, regardless of redeeming themselves.
Ain't got nothing to do with me. Ain't got nothing to do with me. That's when the instructors, if they choose to do that, they can do that.
Well, guys, I do want to thank you very much for your time. You've actually enlightened me on a few things, and I look forward to more success of you guys and your teams going forward for the remainder of this season. Hopefully we can get a full season in, and then we get back to international play, and you guys get the opportunity to show the world what you've been made of, what you've been working on, and hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. Okay?
Thanks for having us.
All
Thank
right.
Thank
you.
you for having us. Appreciate
You
it.
guys enjoy the rest of your night.
Okay. Thanks, Al.
You too.